This is Joe Biden, the resident of the United States. Leading up to the midterms, Biden was hitting the road, trying to get out the vote. Here are some highlights.
So we're working with the auto industry to transition to electric vehicle future. They're going to go all electric by 2035.
My predecessor, he promised to have an infrastructure week. For 4 years he promised infrastructure.
What?
4 years he promised infrastructure.
In 2018, when they tried to do it, we went to 54 states. And FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Assistance. Last time I was in Florida was almost a month ago because of Hurricane Ian. We don't settle our differences in America with a riot, a mob, or a bullet, or a hammer. We settle them peaceably at the ballot box. I've been saying this for now years. Today we face an inflection point. And because of the elections we've taken, since the elections, we've taken gas prices down from where they were. The most common price of gas in America is $3.39, down from over $5 when I took office.
And I'm going to stop there, because that last one was a huge lie. When Joe Biden took office, gas was $2.37 a gallon, not $5. But instead of quoting the national average, which was $3.74, he's touting the most common price, or the mode price. Now, why would he do that? Because the median price is a lower number. That's it. In other words, he thinks you're stupid. Next, Joe Biden spoke about meeting the inventor of insulin.
And by the way, the guy who in fact invented the drug, found it, he decided not to patent it. I talked to him because he wanted everybody to have access to it. So it's not even patented. Anybody can make it.
Okay, none of that is true. So let's break it down, because it's important that we finally debunk this widespread myth. First, insulin medication was invented by not one man, but several men, including James Bertram Cullop, Charles Best, and Frederick Banting. Second, it most definitely had a patent. In the book, The Discovery of Insulin, author Michael Bliss writes, on January 23, 1923, an American patent on both insulin and the University of Toronto's method of making it was awarded to the discoverers. So yes, insulin was patented. And here's where I think the myth about the inventor not wanting to patent it comes from. The Eli Lilly Company's patent attorney had pointed out that one Dr. F.G. Banting seems to have played a major role in the invention that Cullop and Best were trying to patent. And this was because Frederick Banting initially didn't want to put his name on the patents because he felt it was unethical and that it would violate a physician's Hippocratic oath to engage into profiting from a discovery that patenting normally implied. However, without Banting's name on the patent, there was a distinct danger of a Cullop-Best patent being voided on the ground of their not being the sole inventors, and even of charges of perjury being brought against Cullop and Best. Whatever he felt about his Hippocratic oath, Banting's name simply had to be on the patents, at the formal request of the Insulin Committee, and with assurances that the University of Toronto would defend him against any criticism. Banting agreed to have his name added to the application. So the question is, if these three co-inventors did in fact patent insulin, then who the hell did Joe Biden talk to?
It was invented by a man who did not patent it because he wanted it available for everyone. I spoke to him, okay?
He decided not to patent it. I talked to him because he wanted everybody to have access to it.
I spoke to the guy who invented the insulin. He said he didn't patent it because he wanted it available for everybody.
So besides not knowing how patents work, Biden is either A, confused, or B, lying. Yeah, I know, why not both, right? So who did Biden talk to? Well, it couldn't have been James Bertram Cullop or Charles Best, because they always had their names on the patent. And it couldn't have been Frederick Banting, because he died 2 years before Biden was born. Not to mention that his name is also on the patent too, but whatever. Or maybe Joe Biden just made it all up. Yeah, let's go with that.
Folks, and one more thing. On our watch, for the first time in 10 years,
Seniors are going to get the biggest increase in their Social Security checks they've gotten.
And listen to that applause. I mean, who doesn't love more money, right? Well, Biden's statement isn't all that it's cracked up to be. On October 13th, it was announced that the Social Security and SSI benefits for approximately 70 million Americans will increase 8.7% in 2023. However, this increase is nothing to brag about. COLA is directly tied to the inflation rate, which, as you know, is currently at a near 40-year high. So for clarity, this is not a Joe Biden achievement. Brandon, the White House, and the Democrats have nothing to do with the COLA increase. It's something that happens automatically. But at a rally in Philadelphia, he said that the increase is thanks to the Democrats and the Biden administration. Here it is again.
On our watch, for the first time in 10 years, seniors are going to get the biggest increase in their Social Security checks they've gotten. The checks are going to go up.
So ultimately, the audience was applauding higher inflation. Morons. And to show that this wasn't one of those typical Joe Biden misreading a teleprompter moments, here he is during two separate events on November 1st.
On our watch, for the first time in 10 years, seniors are getting the biggest increase in Social Security checks, period. The checks are going to go up. And on my watch, for the first time in 10 years, seniors are getting an increase in their Social Security checks.
So on at least 3 separate occasions, Biden bragged to an ignorant cheering crowd that he and the Democrats were responsible for Social Security benefits increasing. And then the White House Twitter account put out a tweet saying, seniors are getting the biggest increase in their Social Security checks in 10 years through President Biden's leadership. You see that, right? Through President Biden's leadership. This is not something to be celebrated. This is bad. But again, the White House thinks that you're stupid. But then something extraordinary happened. Twitter, under new management, essentially fact-checked the White House by allowing readers to add context. And they pointed out that the annual cost of living adjustment is automatic thanks to the law that President Nixon signed in 1972. And that fact check was so powerful that the White House couldn't take it anymore and deleted the tweet. And White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre explained why they took it down.
So it was, look, the tweet was not complete. Usually when we put out a tweet, we posted with context, and it did not have that context.
Bullshit!
So in the past, we've pointed out that for the first time in over a decade, seniors' Medicare premiums will decrease even as their Social Security checks increase. That's a little bit of context that was not included.
So the missing context was that Medicare premiums are going to decrease next year. Medicare premiums have nothing to do with Social Security benefits.
So those are the types of context that would normally be with a tweet like that. It did not have that context. It was an incomplete tweet, as I just mentioned, and so that's why you saw the digital team take that action.
So let's take a look at the replacement tweet where they included the so-called missing context. Oh wait, they didn't. And then again, what would they even say? Under President Biden's leadership, inflation rose to record highs. That means you're getting a cost of living in your Social Security benefits. You're welcome, seniors. Anyway, by deleting the original tweet, the White House most likely broke the law in violation of the Presidential Records Act. Because presidential records include documentary materials produced or received by the president's staff, or units or individuals in the executive office. And they know this, because if you look at the White House Twitter bio, it clearly states, tweets may be archived, and then provides a link to a page that speaks to data retention. Under the Presidential Records Act, we are generally required to retain information until the end of the current administration, at which time it will be transferred to the National Archives and Records Administration. NARA, or the White House, may choose to dispose of information lacking in historical value through procedures under the Presidential Records Act. And according to the Presidential Records Act, those procedures involve giving notice to the National Archives. And it's highly unlikely that the White House was given the authorization to delete a historical record, which means that the entire White House digital staff is going to jail. I'm kidding, of course. They're Democrats. And probably the biggest lie of this election cycle has been Biden and the Democrats warning that those evil Republicans are going to get rid of Social Security and Medicare.
So I mean it sincerely. You need to know this. You need to know why. Because of your own senator, Senator Rick Scott. I have a brochure here he has.
First of all, that's not a brochure. That's a pamphlet. Second, that's not from Rick Scott. That's a piece of misinformation printed out by the White House.
And he laid out a clear plan. He said every 5 years, Social Security and Medicare would have to be reauthorized.
No, he didn't. Back in February, Senator Rick Scott of Florida's campaign put out an 11-point plan to rescue America. And in it, he made the suggestion that as part of government reform, all federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again. So notice that statement doesn't specifically say Social Security and Medicare. It says all federal legislation. And just on a practical level, voting to reauthorize every law every 5 years could never happen. Congress doesn't have the bandwidth for that.
And this is from the report. I made it larger.
It's a pamphlet, not a report, stupid.
Quote, all federal legislation sunsets, means goes out of existence in 5 years. If the law is worth keeping, Congress will pass it again. So every 5 years, the Congress will have to vote to reauthorize Social Security. Reauthorize it, or else it goes away.
Regardless of Senator Scott's plan and how Biden wants to lie about it, it's not anything that Republican leadership would even consider doing. Here's the soon-to-be majority leader, Mitch McConnell.
We will not have as part of our agenda a bill that raises taxes on half of the American people and sunsets Social Security and Medicare within 5 years. That will not be part of a Republican Senate majority agenda.
And before you ask, no, it wouldn't be on the Republican House majority's agenda either. In a plan released on September 23rd called The Commitment to America, Republican leadership vowed to save and strengthen Social Security and Medicare. And as far as Biden's and the Democrats' repeated lie that Republicans plan to end Social Security and Medicare, even the fact checker at the Washington Post couldn't ignore it and gave the claim the infamous 4 Pinocchios rating. And even though it's been thoroughly debunked, Joe Biden continues to spread misinformation in an attempt to scare seniors into voting Democrat. Why? Because he's a desperate pathological liar who can't run on his own failed policies.
No, sir, listen closely to this, because it's deadly earnest. They're coming after your Social Security and Medicare, and they're saying it out loud. Not a joke.
Anyway, that's it for now. Follow me on Twitter at Don'tWalkRun, and be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. As always, I hope to see you next time. If there is a next time.